All right, let's get right into it. For years, Alexa's been in our homes, right? It's great for setting kitchen timers, playing that one song you like, the basics. But now, in the age of ChatGPT, that just doesn't cut it anymore. So Amazon decided to give Alexa a massive AI brain transplant. But the real question is, after all that surgery, is the new Alexa actually smarter, or is it just more confusing?
You know, this quote from Kevin Roose really just says it all, doesn't it? I think a lot of us have been feeling this way. We've all seen what conversational AI can do, and the thought of having that kind of power in our smart speakers, well, that's pretty exciting. We've been waiting for that true next-gen Alexa for a while now.
So, first up, let's talk about why this brain transplant was so necessary in the first place. This wasn't just some small software update. No, this was a complete overhaul of what Alexa even is. On one side, you've got the old Alexa that we all know. It's totally rock solid for those basic commands. You ask for a 10-minute timer, you get a 10-minute timer. Every single time. Simple, predictable. But then you look at what modern AI promises. Something that can have a real conversation, something creative, something that can juggle complex requests like a human could. And man, the gap between those two is just enormous.
And this was the huge mountain Amazon had to climb. They weren't just trying to make Alexa a little chattier. They were trying to fuse the flexible, creative mind of a generative AI with the perfect, reliable execution of a home assistant. And believe me, that is one heck of a difficult technical challenge.
So how did they do? Let's start with the good stuff. Because when the new system, they're calling it Alexa Plus, actually works, it is seriously impressive. It really gives you a peek into a totally new way of interacting with our tech.
The upgrades are pretty major. The voice itself, it's way more realistic, more human. You can ask it to do a few things at once without having to start over. And maybe the best part, you don't have to keep saying, Alexa, Alexa, Alexa. You can actually have a conversation. It can even do brand new things, like book you a table at a restaurant, or just make up a story out of thin air.
And here's a perfect example of what it can do. Someone asked it to write a one-day itinerary for a trip to San Diego and send it to my email. Think about that. That's not one command, it's 3. It has to understand the request, create an entire itinerary, and then execute a completely different action. That is a huge leap forward.
And you just gotta love this. This really shows off that creative, generative magic of the new AI. The old Alexa could play you a story, sure, but the new Alexa can create one for you. This is that AI magic we've all been hearing about, happening right there in your house.
But, and yeah, it's a really big but, that's only when it works, because the experience isn't always so magical. In fact, it can get so frustrating that the AI basically throws up its little digital hands and admits it's confused.
And here's the gut punch. After seeing all that amazing potential, the final conclusion from the reviewer is that the system is just too broken. The new features are cool, for sure, but they don't mean much if the whole thing isn't reliable.
And this is the perfect, maddening example. After proving it can plan a trip and write a story, it completely fails at one of the most basic jobs it has: canceling an alarm. A command the dumber, old Alexa would have gotten right 1,000 times out of 1,000. That's not just a bug, that's a step backward.
Now this failure is even more concerning. It was asked for a product recommendation based on a trusted review, and it just made something up. It's a classic AI hallucination. It confidently recommended the wrong product. For a device that's basically a portal to Amazon's store, an error like that just shatters your trust.
And it all just leads to this moment. The AI itself says, "Oh no, my wires got crossed." It's surprisingly honest, and it tells you everything you need to know. The system gets so tangled up, it breaks down.
So what on earth is going on here? Why is it so brilliant one second and so completely broken the next? Well, the answer comes down to this fundamental clash. Two totally different kinds of AI that are basically at war with each other inside the machine.
To really get it, you have to know there are these two different AIs duking it out. The old Alexa is what you'd call deterministic. It just follows a strict script. If you ask for a timer, it runs the timer program. Super reliable, but also super rigid. The new AI is stochastic. It works on probabilities, basically guessing the next most likely word. That's what makes it so creative, but also so unpredictable. They're just two completely different animals.
And trying to slam these two systems together, that's where the problems start. Apparently, early versions were painfully slow, and sometimes the new AI would get way too wordy, giving you a 500-word essay on the history of kitchen timers when all you wanted to do was, set a timer. The end result is a system that just feels jerky and inconsistent. Now get this. To manage this clash, Amazon built this massive system to direct traffic. And it's not just juggling two AIs. It has to route your request to the right model from a collection of over 70 different AIs. 70. I mean, that just gives you an idea of the insane complexity they're trying to wrangle here.
So, after all that, where does this leave us? We've seen the incredible promise, and we've seen the frustrating reality. After this huge brain transplant, what's the final verdict? Is Alexa Plus actually ready for us to use in our homes? And here it is. The most telling action of all. The reviewer chose to switch back. He actually downgraded his devices to the older, less intelligent, but, crucially, more reliable version of Alexa. At the end of the day, when it comes to an assistant you use every day, dependability won out over the flashy new brain.
And that's really the big lesson here, isn't it? It goes way beyond just Amazon or Alexa. Having the most powerful AI model in the world doesn't really mean anything if you can't use it effectively and reliably. Raw intelligence is one thing. Being useful is something else entirely.
Which leaves all of us with a really important question to think about. As we're in this race to make all of our technology smarter and smarter, we have to stop and ask, is smarter always better? Or is there a point where we might actually prefer our tools to be a little less smart and a whole lot more dependable?